Introducing ERStudio Data Vault tools. Quick summary for ERStudio. So ERStudio is a tool for data architects who will design and document data assets. And we do that using common business models. And this is really important for our data vault models. On top of that, those data architects need to be coupled with data governance projects. Okay, so the design process in ERStudio is pretty straightforward. We start off with a logical data model that's in business language. So we can agree the design of our data assets with our stakeholders in business language. Once that's agreed, then we can generate a physical model for any platform. We usually apply naming standards during the process, naming standards that are appropriate for that platform. We can then work on specific features of the model for that platform, and then from that we can generate code. So that's our initial create process. And then as things change, we can change the logical model, agree those changes with the business stakeholder. We can propagate those changes to the physical model, or even generate a new physical model, change that physical model, approve that, and then we can compare the physical model with a live database and generate alter scripts. That's the design process. Enterprise data models are really important. So this is where we extend the notion of design with architecture. We're going to create reusable standard patterns that ensures that all of our design projects then have consistency and standardization across them. So important concepts like customer, we can ensure that every place where we're using customer, we're using the same name, the same definition, the same attributes. We identify customer exactly the same way. So the enterprise model, might have it here split into a high level of abstraction, the conceptual model, and then the enterprise logical model. So these standardized entities are models of the business. So we've got the master data entities like customer and product. We've got the key transaction types like order, and then we've got the operations that one performs on the other. Customer places order. So this is a model of the business. Again, really important for our data vault. As we're designing data assets, we can pull fragments of that model and drive our first cut logical models. So we've got standardization. We can also document existing assets and attach them to that model. So here we've got a COTS package where we use the notion of client, where our standard entity uses the term customer. Data governance is really important here. We've got various tools in ERStudio to allow us to harvest and seed a business glossary. We can connect a business glossary to all of our models. We can work with data governance tools like Calibra and Purview and soon Informatica, where we can synchronize our business glossaries with those tools. We can publish the models to those tools. The data stewards will be assigning useful metadata to the business terms like classifications, is this sensitive data, and any policies that we need to follow. Again, useful information when we're building our data vault. So how do we drive the design of our data vault using ERStudio? So the model here shows the different layers potentially of the warehouse. Over on the right we have our star schemas, the data mart. In the middle we've got our data vault, and then we've got our staging area in medallion architecture, they might call that the bronze layer, and we've got our source data assets. And there's a flow through the system. So we've got ELT and ETL jobs that's moving data through the system. The design process usually starts on the right hand side. We can take standard entities from our enterprise logical model and use that to drive the design of our star schemas. And we can refactor those logical models into fact tables and dimensions. Similar sort of process for our data vault. We're going to start from fragments of that enterprise logical model, standardized business driven definitions of the data. And then we can go through that making decisions on, will this entity become a hub or a link, and do we want to create any business vault satellites for standardized data in here. And then the process is identifying source assets. Again, the logical model is really going to help us. We know what information we need for our final asset. Where is that data? If we've got a really good data catalog in ERStudio and our data governance tool, then we can find that data quickly, create staging areas, and then start the mapping process. So we've built some tools to help with this process. Rather than just creating simple templates that say, hey, I want to create a hub, and it creates some of the standard fields for you, we're really thinking about that process. I'm going to give a demonstration of these features in a moment, but the sort of process we want to do is to be able to select a standard business driven third normal form entity, and use the knowledge in there to select our business key. And in that business model, we might have useful information. So here we can see that we've got a primary key in our enterprise logical model. The product is identified by its product SKU. Great. We might also have alternate keys. So we've got an alternate key here where the product can be identified by its name, or even by a series of category and model identifiers. So we can choose from that knowledge to then decide our business key for our hub. So our little macro that we're going to show you in a minute will help you with this process. For links, we can also select a group of hubs and run our macro to create a link entity. And again, it adds all the standard columns in there. For same as links, we can select the roles that each hub plays in the link entity. So the thinking is that the basic structure of the Data Vault warehouse is going to be inspired by the enterprise logical model, inspired by that business-driven model. And some of our customers that are already using this, we're finding that there are separate teams. There's one team involving the enterprise data architects that do this design work of the hub and the link structure. We've then got a second team of engineers that are thinking about the source data, and they're going to be involved with creating the satellite. So we've included some tools that really helps them build those satellites, but ensures that we're not going to end up with a source system driven data vault. This is really important. We've seen this before with customers, in that we might have multiple source systems containing customer information, and the simple solution is to create multiple hubs, one for each source system for customer. And of course with Data Vault, that is a real no-no. What we want is a clean, well-structured data vault that is aligned with the business. So we want one hub for customer. So the idea here with this macro is that when the engineers are selecting source tables to be able to create satellites, they can choose from an existing pick list of hubs. And if the hub that they're looking for doesn't exist, then they can go to a separate team and say, hey, I'm going to request a new hub. So with our macro, we can select a source table, and then the macro will guide you through selecting which columns you want to add to a satellite, select the hub that you want to attach it to. You can specify attributes of the nature of that satellite. So is it low rate of change, the sensitive data in here? And then it'll build those satellites for you and attach them to the appropriate hub. So let's go and see this in practice. Okay, so here we are in Data Architect. I've created a DM1 for our data warehouse, and we've got various parts of the model here on the left hand side. So we've got a logical model for the overarching warehouse itself. In that, we're going to create a copy of the enterprise logical data model, or selected parts of it. We're going to use that to design the structure of our data vault using that common business model. We then got physical models, one for the data vault itself, and then we've got another model for our staging area, and in this one I've added a source system that we can use. Okay, so let's look at our logical model. So I've selected one of the submodels from our enterprise logical model. So this is the sales submodel. So I can see the different domains of the organization or subject areas, and I can see which information is owned by that subject area. So in my sales submodel, I've got information about employees and orders and the commission payments made to them, and also products associated with those orders. We're going to use that information to design our data vault. So here is the logical model of our data vault that we've created already. We've got hubs, links, and a satellite. So this satellite is really focusing on sort of business vault type information, so cleansed data that's common across the organization. I've got two hubs, one for employee and order. I've got a variety of standardized fields in here, so the record source and load date, and the same for my links. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of the entities from our enterprise standard model, and we're going to use that to design a new hub for our data vault. Now, the Data Vault tools are supplied as a series of macros, which means that you can edit these macros yourself. It's all written in a Visual Basic type language, very easy to modify, so this is very much extensible. I've attached those macros to my right-click menu, so I can right-click on an entity, select the macro and say, right, create me a hub. So we've created this little dialog that allows you to choose, first of all, when I create the hub, which model are we going to put it into. So I've selected my logical model, my Data Vault submodel that we were just looking at. The hub name is going to be called product line. We can select a standard prefix that we want to give it. So the next job is to build the business key for this. So this product really is going to help with that process. So I've got a list of all of the attributes of this particular entity here, but I've got a lot of knowledge in that I can select the primary key from our enterprise model, and that selects his product identifier, the SKU. Great. So that could be a good candidate for our business key. What else have we got? So I've got an alternate key, which is the name of the product. Okay. I can select this one, which is chosen another group of attributes around its identifiers and model number, etc. So in this case, I'm going to choose the primary key, which is the product identifier. So I can run the little macro. I can go off to my data vault and see the new hub that's been created, H product line. And there's the business key that we selected and the standard attributes added by the macro, in this case including the collision key. Again, these are configurable, so you can choose the names of the standard fields and the nature of those fields. Now the next job might be to create a link between our order hub and our product hub. And again, I can use my macro. So run the link macro, and it's given it a name based on the two hub names, and it's giving a little prefix. Very easy. I can just hit start, and there's my logical data vault all created. Next job is to propagate the changes that we've made to our logical model down to our physical model of the data vault. In this case, I've got an existing physical model, so I can use our compare merge tool to propagate those changes. Okay, so there's our physical model now updated. Notice that we've applied some naming standards templates along the way, and we've got nice physical names of all of our objects based on a standard. So our enterprise data architect has now created the logical structure, the hubs and links structure of the warehouse based on the enterprise logical model. The next job is to think about the source data for our vault. So we've reverse engineered a source system, in this case very simple. I've got 3 tables. I've created another model representing our staging layer, and I could create various submodels for each system that we're going to import or ingest. So in this case, I've got my order table, and I want to create some satellites in my data vault, and I want to create those satellites against my order hub. So I can select the table. And the great thing about ERStudio is I've got good models with good business information of these. So I can see that this table called ord has got a logical name. I've got a business definition of this table. Likewise for the columns, I can see logical names and definitions of each of these. So I understand what this data is, the nature of it. So in this case, I'm going to load the data against our order hub. So we'll select our satellite macro. We're going to choose where we put the newly created satellite. So I can choose my data vault physical model. We'll put it in the main model submodel. Next job is to select the hub. So I've got a list of existing hubs and links that I can attach to. So this is that reusability part. We should be really thinking carefully about, do we ever need to create new hubs? So I'm going to select my order hub and give the satellite a name. So I can choose the name. Maybe in this case we'll name it after the source system and the table that we're going to load from. I can add a standard prefix to tell us that it's a satellite, and I can add suffixes like, in this case, low rate of change. I can then select the columns that I want to add to my new satellite. What I can then do is also create a visual data lineage diagram. I'll see that in a moment. Okay, so let's run the macro. So I should have now created a satellite containing these columns. What I might want to do then is to create additional satellites. So this one, we've got a discount value that we've used for this order. Maybe we want to make that a sensitive data satellite. So I can create a new satellite with a new name, maybe change the suffix, and run the macro again. So let's go and look and see what we got. So we can see now that our 2 satellites have been created and attached to our hub. We can see the columns that we've selected from the staging table. We can see all of the different data vault fields that have been created. Everything's done. And then from this, we could simply either generate the database code, create a new database, Or we could compare this model with an existing database and get ERStudio to generate our alter script to update the database. The next part is the lineage. We wanted to see some sort of model of the movement of the data here. So in Data Architect, in our lineage tab, we've got some simple lineage views. And we can see here that our order table has gone through some sort of transformation and its target has been this particular satellite. And likewise, that same table has populated this satellite over here with our sensitive data, our discount. We can actually publish this model out using another one of the macros as an Excel spreadsheet, which again you can modify, and that could be given to a data engineer to then create ELT or ETL jobs in the tool of your choice. Okay, so to summarize, ERStudio, in Data Architect, we've created a tool set of some macros available within the tool, and these give you a number of benefits. First of all, it's going to allow you to use your enterprise models. These are standard models of the business with standard architectural patterns that you can reuse in all of your designs of your data assets. So we're going to use those business driven patterns to ensure that your data vault is business driven, it is consistent with all of the other products and the wider organization, it's well documented, we've got lots of descriptive metadata that we can put into the model, and it's well governed. We didn't see this in the demo, but every table, every column can be attached to business terms. We can publish that model back to your data catalog like Calibra or Purview. And the tools are going to help you prevent your data vault being source system driven. Again, an important mission for your data vault, that we've got a minimal set of clean, well-defined hubs and links that are aligned with the business. And as we're reusing standard patterns, as we've got all that existing information about the business, so we can see standard entities from the enterprise logical model with business keys, with well-defined standard attributes. These are going to accelerate the development of your vault. Okay, thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions, please scan the barcode here and come and talk to us.